2 years ago, when Ibrahim Traore seized control, the global community primarily focused on procedural matters, such as the swift reinstatement of civilian rule and the scheduling of elections. Organizations like Ecowas, the African Union, the European Union, and Burkina Faso's foreign partners, including the United States and France, echoed these concerns, stressing the significance of democratic governance and adherence to established norms. However, it seemed that their discussions failed to delve into the underlying causes of the coup and the grievances that fueled it. It is important to note that despite calls for a return to civilian rule, little effort has been made to understand the root causes and unique aspects of the coup. The international community seemingly prioritized procedural legitimacy over comprehending the complex socio-political dynamics at play in Burkina Faso. This oversight reflects a broader tendency among international organizations and foreign partners to rely on familiar democratic frameworks without fully engaging with the specific contexts and intricacies of political transitions in Africa. Similar patterns have emerged in neighboring Mali and Niger, where the focus on elections overshadowed deeper investigations into the underlying factors contributing to political instability and military intervention. Some entities, like Ecowas, have even threatened military intervention unless civilian rule is restored, while others have suspended financial aid as a means to pressure military juntas into reinstating civilian rule and organizing elections. Nevertheless, an important question arises. What is the significance of holding an election? How many elections in African countries since independence have truly benefited the African people? And why is the Western world so concerned and exerting pressure on the military junta to conduct elections? These questions weigh not only on the minds of African elites, but also on the youngest president in Africa, Ibrahim Traore. Since assuming power, Traore has faced immense pressure to restore civilian rule and hold a national election. In a recent interview, Burkina Faso's Prime Minister passionately expressed that whenever delegates from Ecowas or the African Union met with the Burkinabe military government, the sole item on their agenda was the timing of elections in the country. The Prime Minister fervently conveyed Burkina Faso's weariness of underdevelopment and the recurring challenges it faces. Under the leadership of Ibrahim Traore, the country is eager to move beyond this stage of underdevelopment, which necessitates adaptability. Addressing the international community, the Prime Minister emphasized that interventions must be adaptable. One cannot come to Burkina Faso and intervene using the same timelines and criteria as those applied in Mongolia or China. To ensure the effectiveness of any intervention, it is crucial to consider the specific circumstances of the situation. This is the expectation and desire. According to the Prime Minister, the best way for foreign entities or countries to assist Burkina Faso is by collaborating with the military government's priorities, which are focused on ensuring the country's security and development. He further expressed that if elections can contribute to achieving these security and development goals, the military government is eager to hold them promptly. However, he emphasized that if the sole purpose of holding elections was merely to proclaim an end to military rule, Burkina Faso would not participate. This is because conducting elections solely for the sake of transition without benefiting the country would not be productive. The Prime Minister stated that there must be a purpose behind holding elections, as both the military government and the people of Burkina Faso are weary of the never-ending cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. Echoing Captain Traore's vision, the Prime Minister declared that the military assumed power to restore security and drive rapid development in Burkina Faso. Therefore, if elections would contribute to achieving these objectives, the military would organize them accordingly. Otherwise, elections would be postponed until the appropriate conditions are in place. He further asserted that the international community should respect their decision, as it is the right of a sovereign state to make choices it believes will benefit its people. The Prime Minister also highlighted that Captain Traore is leading the country towards true sovereignty and independence, and his decisions will reflect this commitment. Captain Traore delivered an exceptional speech, and we wholeheartedly agree with everything he expressed. The Western world consistently shows concern about the timing of elections in African countries, because elections have become synonymous with democracy. Whether the elections are free and fair seems inconsequential, as long as they occur at the end of each term. It matters little if the elected candidate lacks popularity. Is this what democracy has become? It is widely acknowledged that African democracy has been unsuccessful throughout its history. It has failed to foster continental development and instead turned into a political game where wealthy politicians can buy their way into power and embezzle public funds that should have been allocated to national progress. African democracy has perpetuated a system where politicians can exploit the constitution to extend their rule indefinitely and even pass the torch to their children. Despite witnessing this, the Western world still labels it as democracy simply because elections are held at the end of each term. The reality is that African democracy is a facade and should be done away with. Furthermore, the West's concern about Africa's democracy is rooted in its desire to maintain control over African resources. The push for civilian rule is driven by the belief that forces aligned with the West can manipulate and install self-serving politicians in positions of power. However, leaders like Captain Traore pose a challenge to this influence, which is why there is a persistent call for a return to civilian rule. For true change to occur, African countries must find a governance system that suits their needs. Just because democracy works well in some contexts does not mean it is the most suitable form of government for every nation. Look at China as an example. China does not practice democracy. Instead, it operates under a unitary communist state. Despite being labeled a dictatorship by the United States, China has emerged as America's biggest rival. As Captain Traore expressed in an interview, there is no reason to continue imitating something ineffective. It is time for African countries to determine what is truly beneficial for them, rather than blindly following the dictates of the West. While the West's concern about Africa's democracy may stem from resource interests and maintaining influence, Burkina Faso must assert its autonomy and make decisions based on its national interests. Captain Traore's leadership and calls for self-determination highlight the growing sentiment among African leaders to prioritize the well-being of their nations over external expectations. The choice Burkina Faso makes regarding its governance model will shape its trajectory and determine its ability to address pressing issues such as poverty, inequality, and security. It is a decision that warrants careful consideration, weighing the advantages and disadvantages of different systems in the context of Burkina Faso's unique circumstances. As Burkina Faso navigates this critical phase, it is essential for open and inclusive discussions to take place within the country, involving diverse stakeholders and considering the aspirations of its citizens. By fostering a national dialogue and embracing local perspectives, Burkina Faso can chart a path that aligns with its values, priorities, and aspirations. The outcome of this decision will not only impact Burkina Faso, but may also have broader implications for other African nations grappling with questions of governance and development. It is a significant moment for Burkina Faso to assert its agency and shape its destiny. Now the question arises, will Burkina Faso continue on the path of democracy, or will it chart its course? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that more people can engage with this discussion.